Welcome to my channel. Can you fall in love in just one moment? Not days, not weeks, but one single moment that changes everything. Today's story is about two strangers who met for the first time and felt something they could not explain. Stay till the end because this story will show how one moment can quietly change a whole life. It was a normal morning for Daniel. He woke up early, turned off his alarm, and looked at his phone. Nothing new, no messages, no special plans, just another day like yesterday. He got ready slowly. He wore a simple shirt, drank a cup of tea, and left his home. His life was routine. Every day looked the same. Work, home, rest, and repeat. He believed that life was predictable and quiet. In English, we use simple present tense to describe daily life. He wakes up early. He goes to work. He follows his routine. These sentences show habits and repeated actions. Daniel was not unhappy, but he was not excited either. He felt something was missing, but he did not know what it was. He often thought, maybe this is just how life is. That day, he decided to visit a small cafe near his office. He had been there before, but not often. He chose a seat near the window. He opened his laptop, but he was not fully focused. His mind was calm, but a little distracted. The cafe was quiet. People were talking softly. The smell of coffee filled the air. It felt like any other place on any other day. But sometimes, life changes in places we do not expect. After a few minutes, Daniel looked up from his laptop. A girl had just entered the cafe. She was simple, wearing light clothes, holding a small book in her hand. She looked around, searching for a seat. Their eyes met for a second. It was just a moment. But something unusual happened. Daniel felt a small pause inside his heart. Not loud, not clear, just a feeling he could not explain. He quickly looked away, but the moment stayed in his mind. And in that small, quiet second, something new had begun. The girl found an empty seat near Daniel. It was not far from him, just a few steps away. She sat down quietly and placed her book on the table. She looked comfortable, but also a little shy. Daniel tried to focus on his work again, but his mind was not fully there. He noticed small things without trying. The sound of her chair, the way she opened her book, the calm expression on her face. After a few minutes, the girl looked up. Their eyes met again. This time, both of them noticed the moment. Daniel felt a little nervous, but he smiled slightly. The girl also smiled back. It was a simple smile, but it felt warm. In English, we use simple phrases for first meetings. Hello, nice to meet you. Is this seat taken? These are common and polite expressions. Daniel slowly spoke first. Hi, is this seat taken? The girl replied softly, No, it's free. That was the beginning of their first conversation. They did not talk much at first, just small words, simple sentences. But sometimes, small conversations create strong connections. Daniel asked, Do you come here often? She smiled and said, Sometimes. It's quiet here. Their conversation was short but natural. There was no pressure, no rush, just a calm exchange of words. While they talked, something interesting happened. Time felt slower. The noise around them became less noticeable. For a few minutes, it felt like the cafe was smaller and their moment was bigger. Before leaving, the girl picked up her book. She looked at Daniel one last time and said, It was nice talking to you. Daniel replied, Same here. And just like that, the first meeting ended. But for both of them, Something had already begun, something they did not yet understand. After leaving the cafe, Daniel walked back to his office. His steps were the same as always, but his mind was not. He kept thinking about the girl he had just met. It was not a long conversation, not a deep story, but something about that moment stayed with him. He asked himself, "Why am I thinking about her?" He did not have an answer. This is how feelings sometimes begin, not with big events, but with small moments. At work, Daniel tried to focus on his tasks. He opened his computer, read his emails, and answered messages. But his thoughts kept going back to the cafe. He remembered her smile, her voice, and the way she looked at him. In English, we can express these thoughts using simple past tense. He remembered the moment. He thought about her. He felt something different. These sentences describe actions that already happened, but the feelings continue in the present. Daniel did not understand what he was feeling. It was not excitement only, it was not curiosity only. It was something mixed, something quiet, but strong. Meanwhile, the girl was also thinking about the same moment. After returning home, she sat on her bed and opened her book, but she was not reading. Her mind was somewhere else. She remembered Daniel's voice. She remembered the short conversation. She remembered the eye contact that felt slightly different from usual. She asked herself the same question: why do I keep thinking about him? Both of them tried to continue their normal life. They worked, studied, and talked to other people. But deep inside, that one small meeting had created a memory that kept returning again and again. Sometimes, a single moment does not look important at first, but later, it becomes the moment you cannot forget. And slowly, without any plan, without any decision, their lives had started to connect in a way they could not explain yet. Days passed after their first meeting. Daniel continued his daily routine, and the girl also returned to her normal life. Both of them tried to move on, but the memory of that small moment still stayed in their minds. One afternoon, Daniel decided to visit the same cafe again. It was not a planned decision. He simply felt like going there. Sometimes our choices are not fully logical. We follow small feelings without knowing why. He entered the cafe and looked around. The place looked the same as before, quiet, calm, and familiar. He chose a seat near the window again and sat down. A few minutes later, the door opened, and she walked in. For a moment, Daniel thought he was imagining things, but no, it was really her. Their eyes met again. This time, the moment felt stronger than before. The girl also noticed him immediately. She smiled, slightly surprised, and walked toward him. "Hi, we meet again," she said. Daniel smiled and replied, "Yes, this is a nice coincidence." In English, we often use words like coincidence when something happens by chance. They both felt comfortable this time. There was no hesitation like before. The first meeting had already broken the silence between them. They started talking again. This time, the conversation was longer. They asked simple questions. What do you do? What do you like? Do you come here often? Their words were simple, but the connection was growing. They laughed a little more. They listened carefully to each other. There was a natural flow in their conversation. No pressure, no fear. At one point, Daniel realized something important. Meeting someone once is normal, but meeting them again in the same place, at the right time, feels different. It is in these repeated moments that relationships slowly begin to grow. Before leaving, they both felt something unspoken, not fully defined, but clearly present. And without saying it directly, They both knew this was no longer just a random meeting. Something was building quietly, step by step. After their second meeting, Daniel and the girl started to think differently. Now their thoughts were not only about the past moment, but also about what could happen next. They did not meet every day, but when they did, the conversations became longer and more natural. They began to understand each other's words, habits, and small expressions. Daniel noticed that he looked forward to those meetings. When he had free time, he sometimes thought, "Will I see her again?" This question started appearing in his mind again and again. The girl also felt the same. She found herself checking the cafe more often, hoping to see Daniel there. She did not fully realize it at first, but her interest was growing. In English, we use simple sentences to express feelings. I enjoy talking to you. I feel comfortable with you. I like spending time here. These are basic ways to show emotional connection in clear English. One day, during a conversation, Daniel said, "I feel like we have known each other for a long time." The girl smiled and replied, "Yes, it feels easy to talk to you." That moment was important. It showed that their connection was not just about meeting by chance, it was becoming something deeper. Still, neither of them used the word love. They did not rush. They did not force their feelings. They simply allowed their connection to grow naturally. Sometimes, understanding a feeling takes time. It does not come with a clear label in the beginning. It starts as comfort, then turns into interest, and slowly becomes something more meaningful. Daniel and the girl both realized that their thoughts were no longer separate from each other. Their daily lives were slowly connected by small moments, simple conversations, and shared understanding. And without any big announcement, they had already begun to care for each other in a quiet but genuine way. One evening, Daniel arrived at the cafe earlier than usual. He chose the same seat near the window and waited. The place was calm, with soft light and quiet conversations around him. Minutes passed, but she did not arrive. For the first time in many days, Daniel felt a strange silence. He checked his phone, looked outside, and then looked back at the door again and again. He realized something important. He was waiting, not for work, not for time, but for her. This feeling was new, but also clear. In English, we can express this kind of realization with simple sentences. He was waiting for someone special. He missed her presence. He realized his feelings. After some time, the girl entered the cafe. But this time, she looked a little different. She seemed thoughtful, as if she was also thinking deeply about something. When she saw Daniel, she smiled, but her smile carried emotion. They sat together, and the conversation started slowly. This time, the tone was more serious, but still warm. Daniel looked at her and said, "I think something has changed between us." The girl nodded and replied softly, "I feel it too." There was a short silence. Not uncomfortable, but meaningful. In that moment, both of them understood something without saying it directly. Their connection was no longer just about meetings or conversations. It had become something deeper, something real. They did not need big words. They did not need perfect sentences. Their feelings were enough. Daniel realized that the first moment they met, the first eye contact, the first smile, had quietly started everything. And now, after all those small meetings, conversations, and thoughts, they understood the truth. Sometimes, love does not arrive with a loud beginning. Sometimes, it starts in a simple moment and grows silently until you finally realize it was there all along. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more simple English learning stories. Like this video if you believe in meaningful connections. And comment below, do you believe love can start in just one moment? Thank you for watching.